welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Emily. Recently I decided to reorganize my bookshelves completely from scratch because they just really needed to be redone, honestly, and I did do that as a separate video, but in that video I did promise that I would do another updated bookshelf tour, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. And I'm also going to go through every single book that I own and the way I've organized them and everything like that. Of course, if you would like to see me organize them, you can go and watch that reorganization video. I will link it in the description for you guys so it's easier to access. But first of all, I'm going to go through an overview of the shelves and show you guys sort of how I've organized them and where my genres are and everything like that, sort of the ideas that I had in my head while I was organizing them, and then we can get into the in-depth bookshelf tour. I am also not feeling great right now. I have the worst cramps. I've literally stuck like one of those stick-on heat packs to my bare stomach right now to try to help with the cramps, because I just really want to get this video filmed today, even though I really don't feel like it. So if my energy seems a little bit low, that is why. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so here's a quick overview of what my bookshelves look like when you first walk in the room. I'm just going to go through them quickly. So pretty much down here is like my non-fiction. I have 2 rows of thriller books here. I pretty much have 2 rows of general fiction, literary fiction sort of books, and then up here and all the way down I've got all of my romance books because they did not fit on one shelf. Then along the top I have all of my sprayed edge hardback sort of books. I actually love what I've done up there because I think they just look stunning all together. Down here I have all of my fantasy dystopian sort of books, and then on this little corner shelf, which I'll go through later, just have a bunch of random genres basically. Okay, starting off on this very top shelf, these are like the hardest ones for me to access because they are a lot taller than me. I'm actually standing on a stool right now. If you've watched one of my bookshelf tours before, this happens every single time, so you're just gonna have to bear with me for the top shelf. But first of all, up here I have all of my sort of like Christmassy romance books. I try to keep them in the same section because obviously they're like seasonal, they're festive. I don't really want them like mixed up with my other books because they're not the type of books that I would read at any point in the year. So I do have quite a few of those. Then I have the Eden series here by Devoney Perry. I'm currently up to Jasper Vale, which is the last one I have, but I know that there's more books that come after this one. Then I have the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han and To All the Boys I've Loved Before from her as well. I have all of my Tessa Bailey books here, which I haven't actually read any of them. I don't know why, her books just scare me, but I have It Happened One Summer, Fix Her Up, Secretly Yours, and Fangirl Down. Then I have 1,000 Boy Kisses and 1,000 Broken Pieces. I read 1,000 Boy Kisses when I first got back into reading, have not gotten around to the second one yet. Last Chance books, Pretty Reckless, Vicious, The Kiss Thief, and Summer at Pine Lake. Going on to this second shelf, I'm really hoping that this is like in focus and my shelves aren't like blurred in the background, but this is kind of like more random romances here, like standalone. So I have the Ex-Hex, Never Ever Getting Back Together, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, Love and Gelato, Love Just In, Beach Rivals, Not in a Billion Years, Funny You Should Ask, The Bodyguard, Behind the Net. I have the Dreamland Billionaire series here. I have the Dreamfront Billionaires series here. I have The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, which is a book that's been on my TBR for like 4 years now. I have my Christina Lauren books here, so I have a few copies of Love and Other Words, The True Love Experiment, Twice in a Blue Moon, Something Wilder, The Soulmate Equation, Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. And then here I have my Sally Thorne books. I've got 3 of them but haven't actually read any of them. Then over here I have Spiral by Val Cabra, which is the sequel to Collide, which is another book that I haven't read yet. I believe they are like sports romances, but again, haven't got around to reading them yet. Going on to the next shelf, this is the last romance shelf on this side. So I have this little Lego typewriter over here, which is so cute. Then I have 28 Summers by Alan Hildebrand, Billionaire Island, the If You Had Been With Me duology, which I didn't like the first book, but I still really want to try out the second book and see if I like it. Perfect Couple by Alan Hildebrand. I think they are like small town romances. It is Where I Belong and All I Want by J. Daniels. Phantasma, the second book I do have, but it is on my TBR cart, which I will go through later on. The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest, The Things We Leave Unfinished, The Bromance Book Club, Not So Meet Cute, The Witch Is Back, Archer's Voice, Pucking Around, Heart of Iron, The Summer of Broken Rules, and What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walther. These are part of the same series. You've Reached Sam by Dustin Teo, Sweet Baby by Teddy Jovial, and Before We Were by Monique Medved. Honorable mention actually, because this is actually a book I read recently and gave 6 stars. This is a debut author and the book's coming out very soon. Highly recommend. Like, it was incredible. Look at how many annotations I put in this. Like, seriously, trust me on this one. Then in the next two shelves we kind of get into my more like general fiction. These are like books that don't really fit into other categories, so there's like kind of a few random genres in here, but I just feel like they made the most sense to be together. So we have Rouge, 19 Steps, Blue Sisters, Again, Yellow Face, All This Can Be True, The Women, Bright Young Women, Lovely War, The Memory Keeper's Daughter, Beautiful World, Where Are You, The Roots Run Deep, Lessons in Chemistry, A Little Life. I have 2 copies of this because I did get a copy in the US of this cover, which we don't usually have in Australia, because this is one of my favourite books of all time, so really wanted that one. I have a few Frederick Backman books here. I have A Man Called O, Beartown and Anxious People. Then over here I have all of my Taylor Jenkins Reid books. Then over here I have a few poem books, and then here I have this little copy of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, The Secret History, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, Normal People, The Dictionary of Lost Words, History Is All You Left Me, Aristotle and Dante, that's like a little duology I've got there, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is a book I still haven't read but I really want to, The Nightingale, Another Life, Eventown, Babel, Never Thought I'd End Up Here, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, My Policeman, My Dark Vanessa, Rebecca, The Great Gatsby, 1984, and Sense and Sensibility. There's like a few classics in here as well. You might also realize a couple of authors are spread out a little bit. For example, Kristen Hanna, I've got a book from her up here and a couple down here. That's just because that book is obviously too tall to be in here, and that was just the best way I could organize them. To continue down here, I have a bunch of thriller books. I do have one over here as well that doesn't fit, obviously. Starting off with my Holly Jackson books, I have The Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, The Reappearance of Rachel Price, and 5 Survive. I have Deadly Occupants by Mads Rafferty. I have a couple of Sally Hepworth books here which I haven't read but I have been meaning to. The first 2 books in a truly devious series, The Housemaid trilogy by Frida McFadden. As you can probably tell, I love Frida McFadden. I've read every single one of her psychological thrillers, even her recent one, The Tenant. Literally read it the same day it came out because I could not help myself. So I also have The Teacher, Do Not Disturb, and Never Lie. I do wish I had more copies of her books, but I have not gotten around to buying more copies yet. Then I have a few books from Natasha Preston. I have The Island, The Dare, and The Haunting. And then all of my Jennifer Lynn Barnes books. So I have The Lovely and the Lost. I've got the Inheritance Games trilogy, which I have never actually completed, and the Natural series, which I am up to the last one in. Then down here I have a few more thrillers. So I have There Should Have Been 8 by Nalini Singh, Verity by Colleen Hoover, Saving Noah, Stalking Jack the Ripper, None Shall Sleep, The Last Thing He Told Me, the Dial A for Aunties trilogy, which I also love and highly recommend. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, literally one of my favourite thrillers of all time, also recommend. Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney, Daisy Darker, Beautiful Ugly, and His and Hers, also by Alice Feeney. Perfect Marriage, The Grace Year, Final Girls, At the End of Everything, Keep You Close, A Haunting in Venice, The Paris Apartment, The One of Us Is Lying trilogy from Karen M. McManus, literally one of the series that also got me back into reading. The Only One Left, Survive the Night, and Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And then my Stephen King books, I have Misery, The Institute, and Billy Summers. And this book here is called Julie Chan is Dead. This is like a recent thriller release, which I did really like at the first half, and then it got really weird, so I don't really know if I'd recommend that one. It'd be for a very specific audience. Down here I kind of have my non-fiction random sort of books, so I'll quickly go through them, but they're not really that important, I guess. This one is like that adventure challenge book for me and Harry. We've only done it like a couple of times, to be honest, but we should really actually complete that at some stage. Atomic Habits, The Let Them Theory, I'm Glad My Mum Died, Toxic Positivity, Everything I Know About Love, A Stolen Life, The Power of Now, Stephen King's On Writing, Sand, Sequins and Silicone by Pia Mia, Gutter Glitter, My Body, The Half of It, Matthew Perry's memoir, which I don't want to read out that whole name, The Woman in Me, which is Britney Spears' memoir, and The House of My Mother, which is Sherry Frankie's memoir as well. And then I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but I've got a couple of books down here that were sent from authors as well that I need to read at some point. So I've got Angel's Blood by Nalini Singh, Edge of the Barrier by Elise Hughes, and also Inspector Mage Blood on the Floor by Elise Hughes as well. Okay, going on to this next like row of shelves. These are probably my favourite shelves just because I feel like they look the prettiest. honest. And I do have a lot of sprayed edges up here, which I am going to go through individually so you can see what each of them are. So starting off, the first two is the Dance of Thieves duology by Mary E. Pearson, which I haven't read, but I do feel like I'm gonna love it when I do read it. So I did buy these because I didn't want to buy them resale at some point. So worst case, if I hate the series, I can sell them, but I highly doubt that I will. I have the Divine Rivals duology by Rebecca Ross, which these are some of my favorite special editions of all time. I think these are stunning. I did kind of pay an arm and a leg for these, but I think that it's worth it. A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, which I also have not read yet, but I did get this one in a trade. We have Trick by Natalia Jasta. I got this one in a subscription. Summer in the City by Alex Astor. I got this one from Barnes & Noble when I went to New York. The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. This one was also from a subscription box. The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. Most of these are from subscription boxes, so I haven't actually read a lot of them because some of them just don't interest me, but I also just forget that they're up there because they are turned around to the sprayed edge side, so I do forget what these books are a lot of the time. We have Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli, which I did not get the second one unfortunately, but I'll probably get it at some point secondhand. Sleep Like Death by Kaylin Bayron. The Darkness Within Us by Trisha Levenseller. Die For You by Lauren Jackson. Darker by Four by June C.L. Tan. We have Goddess of the River. I'm not even going to try to say that name. Sorcery and Small Magics by Mega Ducey. This looks really cute. I should probably get around to reading some of these, honestly. Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. And Heir of Broken Fate by Mads Rafferty. Now onto these next shelves. So over here I have this little crate with a couple of romance books in it, obviously. I've got a couple of books from Sarah Adams, which they are kind of out of order. I have a random other book in here, which is A Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan, but the rest of these ones here are Sarah Adams books. Then I have the Windy City series here. I know that there's a new one that's either come out or is coming out very soon, but maybe it's not out yet, so I have not bought that one, but I'm only up to Caught Up anyway. I have these little love bookends, which are so cute, and then in the middle I have my Abby Jimenez books and my Ashley Poston books, which fit perfectly. I have had to add a little bit more since I first organized them because I did buy quite a few books when I was over in the US, so I have had to switch a few things around. Then over here I have my Magnolia Park series and The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. So I do have like the indie original sort of covers, and then I've also got the newer covers here. I have the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, her new series which is the Rose Hill series, and her original series which is the Gold Rush Ranch series. I have not read any of these yet though. Then here I've got my favorite series of all time. I've literally got so many editions of this series, is the Boys of Tolman series. So I have these US editions that have like the ombre spines that all match each other. I have this new Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Binding 13. I know the rest of them are going to come out, but I think I'm just going to stick to having this one. I have the original indie published editions, which only go up to Redeeming 6. I really wish they released all of them in these because even though I usually hate people on the covers, I actually love these, so I wish they did the rest, but I do have all of those that are out. And then I just have the normal US Australian trade paperbacks as well, which I do also love, but they're definitely not my favorites out of any of these covers. Then over here I've just got all of my Emily Henry books, which are quite different in sizes. I have the original trade paperbacks that come out in Australia before they release the smaller ones of a few of them. Then I have a couple of the US ones because I do prefer them, and then one of the normal sized Australian paperbacks. And then down here I've got obviously a bunch more romances. I've got my Anna Huang books. Have not read King of Wrath or King of Pride yet, and I don't know if I will, to be honest. I also haven't read The Striker, but I've heard great things about it. I have Meant to Be and Break the Rules by Lauren Jackson. Unsteady by Peyton Corrin. I do have the second one on my TBR cart as well. The X-Files and You with a View by Jessica Joyce. Out on a Limb by Hannah Burnham Young. Some B.K. Borison books. I've got the Butcher and Blackbird trilogy by Bryn Weaver. The Way I Used to Be and The Way I Am Now by Amber Smith. I loved this duology so much. It was so emotional. Every Summer After, Meet Me at the Lake and This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. The Maple Hills trilogy by Hannah Grace. The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, which I read the whole thing yesterday. I binged it and I loved that book so much. It was a 5-star 5-star read, and Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. Okay, it's a little bit sunny on this angle, so hopefully I'm like mostly out of it. But to go through the last 3 shelves on this shelf, I've got all of my Lynn Painter books here, which is not as many as I originally thought, but I have actually gotten rid of a couple of them that I DNF'd, so that's probably why. All of my Krista and Becca Ritchie books, I do not have the whole Addicted series. I am up to Thrive, which is on my TBR card as well, but obviously I need to buy the rest of them. I have a couple of Ali Hazelwood books, all of my Al Kennedy books. I have Good Girl Complex, The Graham Effect, and the Off Campus series. Then I have the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score and also By a Thread by Lucy Score. Down here I have Ghosted by J.M. Darhauer. I do really want to read that book. It's been on my TBR for a while, but it's always been a book that's been on my radar. In Perfect Harmony, Love of My Afterlife, the paperback of The Summer in the City, which is actually an ARC copy, which is really cool. Pack Up the Moon by Kristen Higgins, My Dark Romeo, Red, White and Royal Blue, the Rebel Ranch series by Lila Sage. The second one is also on my TBR card. All of my Alice Oseman books are here, so we've got like her novels and then also the Heartstopper series. And then I just have my Colleen Hoover books here. I have gotten rid of a lot of them, but these are the ones that really helped me get back into reading, so I have like a soft spot for them and I would never get rid of them because of that. And then the bottom is mainly my dark romance books. I don't read dark romance very often, but I do have a few of them. So I have the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey, The Sweetest Oblivion, The Haunting Adeline duology, which I still need to read the second, the Ravenhood trilogy, Hidden Games, Corrupt by Penelope Douglas, which is obviously the first in a series as well, the Never After series by Emily McIntyre, which is also missing a few, Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino, Punk 57, Ninth House, Brutal Prince, Still Beating, and June 1st by Jennifer Hartman. And then here I have all of my Mariana Zapata books. So I have 2 copies of From Luca with Love, because one of them I got also from a trade and it's signed, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, All Roads Lead Here, and Culty. I do also have The Best Thing from her, but this is off my shelf because I am reading it for a video this week, so that is not on my shelf at the moment. Should have also mentioned I also have Girl Abroad by Al Kennedy, which is off my shelf for the same reason, but I did want to show that as well. Okay, the lighting is probably going to be the worst here because I'm right next to the window and it's on a weird angle, but this is the last like big shelf I have, and then I've only got this like little skinny shelf on the side, so I'm going to go through these first. So I have The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song, Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, Air by Sabah Tahir, The Girl with No Reflection by Keshe Chow, I'm probably saying that wrong, Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan, and this annotated edition of Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Then I've got my gorgeous Scholastic hardback editions of the Hunger Games series, excluding the new book because they haven't come out in this like version yet. Verity by Colleen Hoover, Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I think this is the Owl Crate edition if I'm not mistaken. No, it's the Steamy Lit edition actually. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, the collector's edition of ACOTAR, the Divine Rivals duology. These are like the US hardbacks. This one is a special 10th anniversary edition of The Nightingale. The Barnes & Noble edition of Say You Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which is really nothing that special. And then I've got the Fairloo edition of As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zufla Cateau. Then over here I have the Percy Jackson series, which I've never read. I do need to get around to that. Let me know if you want to see that in like a dedicated reading vlog with like spoilers or something, because I'd be more than happy to do that. The Harry Potter series, which I only read last year for the first time. I also have this little chocolate frog box that I got at Universal Studios as well. Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. I have a few of Cassandra Clare's books here, so I have the first 3 books in the Mortal Instruments series, the first book in the Infernal Devices series. If you're wondering why I don't have like the whole series, it's because you have to kind of read them out of order. And also Chain of Gold. I have Half a Soul, Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain, and the Obsidian Tower. Then I have the Shadow Me series by Tahara Murphy and Watch Me, which is her new spin-off series. I have the Selection series, the Red Queen series, which I just realized they are literally so incredibly faded, like that is insane, but anyway. The One Dark Window duology, The Night Circus and the Starless Sea by Eric Morgenstern, The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson, and Heir of Broken Fate and Heir of Broken Kingdom by Mads Rafferty. I also do have the 3rd book downstairs, which got delivered a few days ago. I just need to add that to my shelves. Then I have the Lightlark series by Alex Astor. The second one is on my TBR cart as well. The Akane series by Lynette Noni. Some of these are like really faded as well. I should probably get some curtains or something because that is not great. My books are getting damaged. The Spa Duology by Lynette Noni, the Prison Healer Trilogy, which the second is also on my TBR card, A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid, Fable for the End of the World, also by Ava Reid. I'm not sure what this series is called, but like the Cursed King series by Abigail Owen, the Serpent and Dove Trilogy and Metal Slinger, Paravore Trilogy by Stephanie Garber, the ACOTAR series, the Throne of Glass series, the Bone Season and the Prior of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and the Cruel Prince trilogy. Then over here I have the Fourth Wing series. I've got all of my Oliver Blake books. Also have Masters of Death, which isn't on my shelves for the same reason as before. I'm filming this for a video. A Winter's Promise by Christelle Darbos, The Unmaking of June Farrow, and The Moon Hatched, The Serpent and the Wings of Night series. Divine Rivals duology, again I've got a few editions of this. Where the Dark Stands Still, Immortal Dark, Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, and the first two books in the Zodiac Academy series. Last two shelves I have the first two books in the Emily Wilde series. I actually didn't like the first one, so I am contemplating just donating those. Dragon Rider, Six Crimson Cranes, The Hurricane Wars, Spark of the Everflame and Glow of the Everflame by Penn Cole, Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber, The Crimson Moth, I've got the ARC edition that I was originally sent for the first book, and then unfortunately Australia didn't get ARCs of the second book, but I do have the normal editions of those as well. Games Gods Play, Of Salt and Mist, The Half King, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Feybound, Tonight I Burn, Cruel is the Light. I've got two editions of those as well because I do have the ARC. Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare and Iron and Embers. And then the last shelf down here I have The Raven Scholar, A Tribute of Fire, The Pendragon Witch, The Night and the Moth. This is also an ARC, but I did DNF it halfway through. I am planning on going back into it. This Wretched Dawn, The House in the Cerulean Sea, Snow Globe, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, The Ravens, If We Were Villains, Song of Achilles and Circe by Madeline Miller, Daughter of the Pirate King, The Book of Azrael, Graceling, Kingdom of the Wicked and Throne of the Fallen by Kerry Maniscalco, The King of Frost and Shadows, The Bridge Kingdom, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, These Violent Delights and Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, The Shadow of the Wind, Blood of Hercules, A Fate Inked in Blood and The Empress. Through the last shelf over here I'm just gonna do like a little overview. So I have the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. These are the Fairy Loot editions. I have a few more fantasy books here. So I have Orphea. This is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue as well. These Hollow Vows, A River Enchanted, Belladonna and Mistborn. Then I have these three Mina Lima editions of Harry Potter. These are the only ones that are out so far. All of my Marissa Meyer books. So I have the Lunar Chronicles series, Heartless and the Renegade series as well. Down here I have the Twilight series. I have my V.E. Schwab books and The Lovers. This is just like a random book that I saw once and it looked cute, so I bought it. I've got all of my different editions of the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. I have the Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. I have the ARC edition. I have the normal paperback editions that are the like Australian editions, and then the little mini hardback edition of the novella as well. I have all of my gorgeous classic books here. I've got Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. These are like all the same. Then this is a hand-painted edition of Persuasion, apparently. All I know is that it's stunning. This one has all of Jane Austen's novels in it, and I've also got Little Women as well. And then down here I have like some little book nooks that I just keep down here, but I also have A Dance of Lies. This one is a Quicksilver arc by Callie Hart, and also a paperback edition of Fourth Wing that's got dragons on it as well, which it doesn't fit with my other ones, so that one is just down there for now too. I almost forgot that I have to go through my little TBR card as well. These are like my priority books. These are the ones I want to read sooner rather than later. So I have First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, Forget Me Not by Julie Soto, I Am Not Jessica Chen by Anne Liang, Our Infinite Fates, Nightbane, Tell Me What You Did, An Ember in the Ashes, The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni, The Rose Bargain, Cross the Line, Swift and Saddled, Encantra, Thrive, Unloved and Collide. So a lot of these I said were missing from my shelves. This is why. But yeah, that is all of them. So yeah, that is my bookshelf tour complete. I really hope you guys got some inspiration from this, if that's what you're looking for. Or maybe you just like watching these videos. I know I love watching videos like this, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. If you did, make sure to give it a like because it will really help me out. And if you would like to see more content from me, make sure to subscribe. I do post a video every single week and I pretty much vlog every single week of my life reading. So if you want to see my opinions on all the books I read, definitely do that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you all in my next one.